It's the end of the world. Well, I mean, it was, but I guess it didn't end, and now we have to rebuild. Post-apocalyptic city builders lay the foundation for building up from absolutely nothing, and usually have survival elements. So, do you think you have what it takes to be the best city building leader at the end of the world? Let's find out, and welcome to the most anticipated upcoming city builders in 2024, set after the apocalypse. First, there's New Cycle. Build a new civilization out of the chaos of an apocalyptic solar flare as you grow your house from a lone shelter to an industrial metropolis. Take on the burden of preserving life itself and help your people realize their aim, which is a future beyond survival. Now, in this city builder, the old world has collapsed and humanity fell into chaos because of this solar flare that destroyed every institution of human civilization. You'll be managing a vast web of resources, which are vital for your collective survival. There'll be foraging, mining, and trading to fulfill people's needs. You'll be facing an uncaring world where nature marches on. There's seasons and weather and various things that are just gonna not be very pleasant for your people. The people, which by the way have morale, and you need to manage their efficiency and the workforce size, and deal with discontent. All the while you're sculpting your settlement, trying to build a majestic city, even though the world has ended. Generally, this game looks great, and it seems to have everything lined up to be a great post-apocalyptic city builder. Now, what's very helpful is that if you go to the Steam page, there's actually a ton of gameplay footage. The main video is 7 minutes long, with just gameplay being shown off, so you can really see what New Cycle is all about, and we don't even have to wait that long for its release. It is actually releasing, currently set for the 18th of January 2024, so if you're watching this in the future, it's already out. But yeah, New Cycle looks very promising, lots has been shown off, and we'll get a proper look soon. Moving on, Post-Apo Builder. Now, I'm not always a big fan of very literal titles for games. Post-Apo Builder, as in post-apocalyptic builder. Yeah, okay. But besides the name, I suppose what really matters is whether it's a good game. In this game, you're supposed to be building up your own city in a post-apocalyptic future. You scavenge and fight for resources. You restore civilization on the ashes of the fallen world. You explore wastelands and protect your people by fighting off raiders, wild tribesmen, and natural disasters. So this seems to have all the trappings of a post-apocalyptic city builder. And it does look visually good, and there's controllable vehicles, and it does seem to have some unique points to it. But it's just so hard to see how exactly this is going to be different from the many other post-apocalyptic city builders we have. Now, at the time of recording, there is actually a free demo for Post-Apo Builder, but it's listed as a separate thing on Steam, called Post-Apo Builder Prologue, which is actually kind of what I prefer demos to be, this separate listed free game, because then people can leave reviews. And the prologue for this game currently has mostly positive reviews, floating above the 70% positive mark. So not only can you jump in and try the game for yourself for free, you can see what other people think of it as well, and get a good idea of whether you want to be waiting for the full release of Post-Apo Builder or not, which is set for a Q1 2024 release window. Hey, now that you're a bit into the list, I'm sure you're enjoying it, so it would be greatly appreciated if you can like the video. Thank you. Alright, next game. And then for one that we've been watching for a few years now, but it's getting a full release soon, Dream Engine's Nomad Cities. This is a survival city building game with flying cities. You build, automate, and defend a flying city to survive in a wacky, nightmare-infested post-apocalyptic world full of strange science and dreams. So this isn't a particularly Earth post-apocalyptic world, but it is still post-apocalyptic, and it's got a sort of Factorio light thing going on with conveyor belts and stuff like that. You build up your city on this platform and in the surrounding areas, but eventually the nightmare creatures which are wave attacking your city eventually get too overwhelming, and you have to lift off with what you can and fly to another location. As you go from location to location, you collect resources, you progress through a tech tree, you build up more advanced buildings, and you discover ancient mysteries as to what really happened in this world. And you do have to manage your fuel and weight for your city, because you can't just fly around infinitely. So this one entered early access in the middle of 2021. And it's got mostly positive reviews, about 75% positive on Steam, and it is sort of an interesting kind of approach to city builders. It was supposed to spend about 2 years in early access, but we are past that right now. However, they did say the next update will be the 1.0 full release version of Dream Engine's Nomad Cities. It should be early in 2024, where this is fully released. Next, we've got a sequel to a popular game, Endzone 2. The first Endzone game was sort of this very solid post-apocalyptic city building experience, and it was very well reviewed and being quite popular. Lots of people played the first Endzone, and it really turned out to be something quite nice. Endzone 2, however, is supposed to be even better. Now, if you didn't play the first one, this is a post-apocalyptic survival colony city builder thing where you embark to secure humanity's survival after a cataclysmic disaster. You explore a world and repopulate the last habitable grounds, while making tough decisions and just trying to survive through dangerous weather and managing of resources and just trying to keep everything running. Now, Endzone 2 ran a Kickstarter and it managed to hit its goal, which was a relatively very low goal actually. They were only asking for 30,000 euros, which is obviously not the full budget of producing a game in 2024, but maybe they were just testing interest. But it surpassed its goal, and it seems like we're going to be getting Endzone 2 in early access in Q1 of 2024. And they're saying it's going to take at least 12 months in early access, so we're looking at a 2025 full release for Endzone 2, but definitely playable in 2024. So what are the key differences between Endzone 1 versus Endzone 2? The first thing is zones. So in Endzone 1, you played on one big map where you built a sort of global settlement. But in Endzone 2, the world expands as you uncover different zones. So instead of end zone, it's more end zones. Plural, you know? There's new settler behavior with better pathfinding and job distribution and stuff like that, so your settlers should be better than before. There's gonna be vehicles where you can choose your starting location and move your settlement and construct additional vehicles to venture into the treacherous Badlands. The expedition system is getting an overhaul, and of course there's gonna be new revamped graphics to make the game look better. So generally speaking, Endzone 2 is looking very promising. The first game was a success. If Endzone 2 is just better than the original, then I think a lot of people will like this. But we'll find out when it enters early access in Q1 of 2024. Then, yes, of course, we can't be talking about new city builders without talking about Frostpunk 2. The first Frostpunk game was a massive success. Hugely popular for casual players or special challenge runs. It looked great, it played fantastically, it was super developed with tons of mechanics and tons of story and extra DLC and expansions that made the game bigger and better. And it just was overall, I think, an undoubted success. Frostpunk 2 has been highly anticipated, and it is very difficult to create a sequel that will surpass a game that's already so popular and continuing to be so popular. And honestly, we haven't seen all that much of Frostpunk 2. For a long time, we only had this cinematic, which looked great but didn't really show anything. And just recently we got a glimpse of some possible gameplay. I'm not even gonna call it gameplay, it's just sort of a flyover of maybe gameplay graphics really. And we got some nice screenshots, but we haven't actually seen actual full-on gameplay of Frostpunk 2. So we're all still waiting to get a closer look at this game. Now, just for an overview of what Frostpunk 2 is about, it's a survival city builder in a frozen post-apocalyptic wasteland, and you have this central pillar of heat to keep your city warm and alive. And this sequel is promising new deadly threats, moral quandaries, a more complex city, still difficult to manage and please people, a bunch of technologies to discover, and so much more. Now, Frostpunk 2 just progresses the gameplay slightly. I think people are gonna love it. But also, it has to improve things enough to get people to move on to this sequel. We have been playing the first game for a long time, so maybe just a fresh coat of paint is enough to get people to jump on board with Frostpunk 2. But really, if they don't surpass expectations in some ways, I think it's gonna feel like a bit of a letdown, even if Frostpunk 2 is a good game. Especially because they've been teasing it for so long. It was announced a while ago. We've been looking at the cinematic trailer for a long time, and they're still just teasing. But they say it's gonna release in 2024, so it must be nearing completion at this point, and I suppose as long as nothing goes wrong, we can hope 11-Bit Studios delivers something that doesn't just match the original game, but does go a few steps beyond to really make it worth jumping into this sequel. There you have it. Press the like button and use the GOG referral link below to support videos like this one. Just click the link and buy any game, it really does help. Thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members who really support this channel. Join if you want your name on future videos. If you want to stay in the know for another genre, go to the next list video linked on screen because city builders are simulation games and you'll likely enjoy all the other tycoon, building, and sim games we have in store. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.